A long time ago in Salt Lake City, there were two young LDS missionaries named Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton. The two of them would often go around town spreading the word of their Christian faith. But one day they crossed paths with a man who ended up shaking their faith to the core. After several weeks, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton were back on their bikes, preaching around the Ogden area. Now technically, they were out there doing the Lord's work, but the kind of nasty stuff they were saying to each other, it would make anyone blush. In that same area lived a man named Mr. Reed. He had recently written a letter to their church, saying he was curious about their religion. Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton figured, since they were already nearby, they might as well stop by and meet him. They were just on their way there when a group of mischievous kids ran into them. First, the kids complimented the sisters on their missionary outfits, then used the excuse of wanting a picture to yank on Sister Barnes's shirt and run off. Her eyes welled up with tears. But still, they had been taught to stay strong and keep walking the path of faith, no matter what. A little while later, they finally reached Mr. Reed's place. By that time, the weather had turned bad too. They locked their bikes outside and knocked on the door. After a short wait, Mr. Reed answered. A few greetings were exchanged, and then Sister Paxton quickly jumped into telling him about their religion. Since they were both getting wet, Reed invited them inside. But Sister Barnes didn't agree right away. She first asked if Reed's wife was home. Only if she was, would they go in. Reed said yes. His wife was home and making pie. Once they felt reassured, the two of them stepped inside. Reed took their jackets to dry, and after a bit, came back with a tray carrying drinks and a candle. Then the real conversation began. Why should Reed consider becoming a Christian? Which religion is the one true path? They didn't really have a solid answer to that, but they still kept the talk going. They explained how their faith teaches that God's love is infinite, and that Jesus Christ was sent to earth for the good of humanity. He died and came back to life on the third day. He showed us the way. Heaven and hell are both real places. God has promised his children that if they walk the righteous path, they'll have eternal life in heaven. But for those who live in sin, there's hell. Listening to all this, Reed felt like these girls were just repeating stuff like parrots. He already knew a little bit, like how one time an angel named Moroni appeared to Jesus and told him about a book, the Book of Mormon. As soon as he said that, both sisters lit up with excitement. They thought their job just got easier since Reed already knew some of it. Meanwhile, the smell of pie was starting to fill the room. Sister Barnes was hoping to get a taste and maybe use that as a way to finally meet Reed's wife too. Reed smiled and asked, "So guess what kind of pie my wife's making?" Sister Paxton quickly answered, "Blueberry pie," because that was her favorite, though the pie still needed a bit more time. Until then, Reed threw a few more questions their way, like about polygamy. It's mentioned in the Book of Mormon. Polygamy means one man having multiple wives. Today it's allowed in Islam, but historically many people have spoken out against it. In 1890, it was officially removed from Christianity. Reed also said there were plenty of other dark spots in their religion that had slowly been covered up, because if new people knew about them from the start, they might never join the faith. From what Sister Barnes understood, polygamy wasn't removed because it was something shameful. Back then, it made sense to help grow the population, but nowadays it's just not needed, so they stopped doing it. In a way, what Sister Barnes said wasn't wrong, but Reed didn't stop there. He straight up challenged them, said the church's whole history was just a brainwashing tool, the same kind that had been used on them. Reed even knew that Sister Barnes's dad was a converted Christian. He claimed her dad fell into the trap, and now his daughter was out here trying to pull others into it too. Reed said he could even prove it. The sisters were totally stunned. They came to convert him, but Reed seemed ready to tear the whole foundation of their faith apart. Back in the day, Reed was also out looking for the true religion, one that felt closest to God. In that search, he went through Mormonism, Scientology, Islam, Buddhism, and who knows how many other religious texts. He started to feel really connected to a higher power. That feeling started to come over him, but every religion he studied felt fake to him. Just a reminder, this is a fictional story from the movie. These aren't our beliefs. We respect all religions. After going through so many scriptures, Reed finally found a faith he believed was truly close to God, and he'd been working on it for years now. He said just like these girls were sent out to sell a religious product, he had one too, and he wanted to present it to them tonight. The sisters weren't even slightly interested. They just wanted to get out of there somehow. So they asked, "Can we meet your wife?" "Of course," Reed said and walked off to get her. While he was gone, the sisters looked around the room. That's when Sister Barnes noticed the candle. When she picked it up and flipped it over, she freaked out. The blueberry pie smell they'd been picking up wasn't coming from Reed's wife baking in the kitchen. It was coming from the candle. That meant Reed had lied about his wife making pie. Right then, Reed came back and invited them into the other room, saying his wife was waiting there for them. But now they were too scared to go in. Who knows what he was planning to do in there? That's when a call came in from their church. They used that as the perfect excuse to leave. But here's the problem. The bike key was still in one of their coats, and that coat was with Reed. No bikes, no coats, and they had to walk 4 miles in this crazy weather. But this wasn't just about the bikes anymore. It was about staying alive. They decided, screw the bikes. If we make it out, that's all that matters. We're walking. But then they realized the door they came in through was now locked. On top of that, no phone signal. And then the power went out. Now both of them nervously started looking for Reed. The whole house was dark. That's when they saw a woman. But when they got closer, it turned out to be just a statue of a lady. After wandering around, they ended up right back where they started. Reed's house was nothing less than a maze. Meanwhile, Reed had returned with a box, probably to show them something. But they ruined all his plans by saying that they got a call from the church and had to leave immediately. Inside, they were scared, but they tried to act normal. Reed couldn't force them to stay, so he let them go. But he said they had to use the back door, because the main door of his house locks automatically every evening at 6 p.m. That detail had just slipped out of conversation. Now that door won't open until the next morning. Weird, right? A door with a timer on it. Anyway, the back part of the house wasn't too big, so maybe getting out from there wouldn't be too hard. Reed even brought them their coats. But now there was another problem. Sister Barnes had kept the key in her coat, and now the key was missing. When they checked, they found out the key was in Sister Paxton's pocket. No clue how it got there. After getting everything ready, both of them were stuck again. They didn't know where that back door actually led to. Reed had already figured out that they were scared. Otherwise, why would they lie about getting a call from the church? He asked, "This house has metal walls and signals don't come through. So how did a call even reach you?" Well, it made sense for them to be scared. Reed should have told them everything about the house beforehand. Anyway, now they wanted to leave, so he let them. There were 2 doors in front of them. Which one leads outside? It was now up to them to figure it out. Sister Barnes opened the first door, and the moment she looked inside, her expression changed. Then she opened the second door, and it looked exactly the same. What kind of joke was this? Reed explained. The back side of his house connects directly to a mountain, meaning if they wanted to leave, they'd have to cross the mountain. Meanwhile, the church president was getting worried since both of them hadn't returned, and their phones were off too. Hearing that they had to get out through that creepy path, both girls freaked out. They warned Reed, "Let us out the front door, or we'll make sure you regret this. We talked to a cop earlier. He'll find us real soon." But Reed wasn't fazed at all. Instead, he said he could help them figure out which door was the right one. When they agreed, Reed brought out a board game, Monopoly. He said it's been sold in over 114 countries and played by nearly 1 billion people. Then he placed a Holy Bible on the table to help explain better. After that, he mentioned another game, the Landlord's Game. Sister Barnes had no idea what these games had to do with their current situation. Reed said, "It's got everything to do with it. See, the Landlord's Game was first created by a woman named Elizabeth Mackay, but 30 years later, some guy from Philadelphia slightly tweaked it and sold it as Monopoly. Then in 1935, he sold it to Parker Brothers. Everybody knows Parker Brothers. They're seen as the founders of the game industry, but no one knows Elizabeth Mackay, even though the original idea was hers." Reed said, "Same thing happened with religion. Judaism was the earliest monotheistic religion. Then came Christianity, and later Islam. The stories and characters in Judaism's scriptures, you'll find the same ones in Christianity and Islam too. The only difference is in how the stories are told, just like different editions of Monopoly. And just like no one knows Elizabeth Mackay, today only about 0.2% of the world follows Judaism, while its advanced versions, Christianity and Islam, are the biggest religions now." Reed said, "And just like Monopoly keeps getting modern versions, the Book of Mormon is like a new edition of the Bible. It's all just different marketing from the same source. The stories change, but the root stays the same. So tell me, do I still seem crazy to you?" Then Reed laughed out loud. "And that song he played earlier? That wasn't random either. It was originally made in 1920, and its English version came out in 2017, which got pretty popular. But when the folks who owned the old one found out, they filed a lawsuit. Reed said, "That's the real problem. People forget the original. They just fall for whatever shines the most, true or not. Even that idea you came to sell today, it's just another product. When someone follows a religion, of course they'll buy the book too. It's a whole marketing scheme." Reed had an idea too, something he wanted to present to them tonight. Sister Barnes and Paxton just sat there quietly, listening. They came here to change Reed's mind, but now their own minds were shaken. And Reed wasn't done yet. He went on to say that all those stories in religious texts are actually based on ancient tales that people used to pass down for generations. One of those stories was about a saint who was born to a virgin and could perform miracles. That story was 1,000 years older than Jesus. There was another god who was believed to be reborn, and he became super famous. Mithra, he was one of the big names back in the day. Krishna, he was also born of a virgin, baptized in a river, brought dead people back to life, and resurrected himself. In that small gallery of his, there were 12 gods whose birthdays were on December 25th, and they were all born before Jesus. What it meant was that many of those gods shown in the gallery were actually characters from ancient myths, and people just kept remaking them over time. Basically, it was all fake. He said their holy books were just like those dumb board games, just another way to make money. Reed said again, "Can you imagine thousands of years from now, people calling me a prophet? Sounds ridiculous, right?" After throwing all those facts at them, he finally got to the point. One door had faith written on it, and the other said doubt. The choice was theirs. If they still believed their religion was true and their God was real, then go through the faith door. Or if they had changed their minds now and believed like Reed did, that there's no such thing as a true religion, then take the doubt door. The two missionaries went quiet, deep in thought. All they really wanted was to get back home. In the end, they trusted their God and chose the faith door. As soon as they started walking down a few steps, Reed slammed the door shut behind them. They found themselves in a huge hall, but with no way out. There was another door, but that one was locked from the outside too. Now, trapped in this dark basement, the two of them were completely stuck. Now the question was, what did Reed actually want from them? Nothing made sense. Sister Barnes tried to find a way to get upstairs, but it was useless. Then they heard someone coming. Both of them got alert. Sister Barnes had a sharp tool hidden. Right then, she came up with a plan. Since Reed mostly kept his eyes on Barnes, she gave the job of stabbing him to Sister Paxton. Barnes would keep him distracted, and the moment she said magical man, that would be Paxton's cue to jab the tool into his neck. Magical man was the code word for the attack. Maybe killing Reed was their only shot at escaping, but he was smart, so they had to be super careful with every move. Just then, a woman came in through the other door, holding a lantern and a tray of food. Her toenails were filthy, and her clothes looked like she hadn't bathed in years. The sisters were freaking out from fear. The woman set the food down on the table and started doing this weird prayer. The way she prayed, neither of them had ever seen anything like it in any religion. Meanwhile, Reed started playing music again, and the sound came through a tube, loud and clear into the basement. Nearby, there was also a model of his house, one he had designed himself. Sister Barnes quietly slipped out the second door to go upstairs, but it was locked. Still, she recognized the room. Both basement doors led to the same room where Reed had been debating with them earlier. A little later, Reed came back and told them that the woman who just visited them, she's a living prophet. Then Reed said they were about to witness a miracle, and the two of them would be the witnesses. That woman's food was poisoned. Reed said, "When she dies, just watch. Then I'll bring her back with the grace of God. And once she's alive again, she'll tell what she saw after death. That'll prove all other religions are fake, and only Reed's path is the real one." Though honestly, that woman looked more like trash than a prophet. So the woman ate a little, and then suddenly collapsed right there on the table. Reed told them to check her pulse, so they could be sure she was actually dead. And yeah, she had no pulse. Now it was Reed's turn to bring her back to life, because now she'd be the one to tell what she saw after dying. Just then, the doorbell rang. Both girls thought maybe it was the elders. Maybe they'd finally tracked them down. They ran upstairs as fast as they could, hoping that as soon as the door opened, they could scream and let the elders know they were inside. And yep, it was the elders at the door. Both shouted out loud together, but their voices just died in the air. The whole house was soundproof. Still, they didn't give up. They had an idea. What if they filled that music tube with smoke? Sister Barnes pulled a matchstick that had fallen near the carpet. They hoped if they lit a fire, maybe the elders would notice something strange and catch on. But no luck. They struck match after match, and it all went to waste. The elders eventually gave up and left. Right then, they heard something behind them. That woman, the one who looked like a prophet, was alive again. Seeing her standing made both of them freeze in fear. The woman said, "After death, I saw a bright light. They called my name. God himself called me. This world is a lie. I need to go back to him." Just then, Reed walked in too. Now it was crystal clear. He was going to document everything that happened tonight in his so-called holy book. Basically, the true religion he had been searching for all this time, he was now going to build it himself. He said, "Throughout history, there have been miracles that made people into prophets, even gods. But what you just saw happened right in front of you." Then he asked, "Tell me, what did you see?" He wanted both of them to be the official witnesses for his new religion. But to Sister Barnes, this didn't feel like a miracle. It felt like a well-planned magic trick. Reed replied, "If you don't believe me, then you die too, and I'll bring you back with God's help." Sister Barnes flat out refused. But on the other hand, Sister Paxton was slowly starting to fall for Reed's words. She began thinking maybe that prophet really did see something. The light, the voice of God. Maybe it was real. But Barnes jumped in right away. "'Cause it's all fake. I've been through that myself. During a kidney surgery as a kid, doctors declared me clinically dead. I saw the same bright light while dying. But the truth is, when your brain runs out of oxygen, that's the kind of stuff it makes you feel. It's just a near-death experience, something people feel when they brush against death and come back. It's not a miracle. It's just a scientific reaction from the body." Sister Barnes had now fully turned against Reed. She was tearing down his whole true religion act. That's when Reed cut her off, literally. He slit her throat. He had already heard them say, "magical man," through the tube, the code word for their attack plan. Seeing Barnes like that, Paxton panicked and ran for the door. She started banging on it hard, even though she knew it was useless. She was regretting ever coming to this house. Reed said, "Don't worry, Sister Barnes will come back to life." But that didn't happen, because Sister Barnes had an implant in her, something man-made, a program. Reed's miracle didn't work on it, but now Reed wanted to know what Paxton had seen when the prophet woman died. Paxton was straight up, "That wasn't a miracle." She gave her opinion. "When the elders knocked on the door and both of us looked away, that woman used a secret way to come in, removed the real body, and sat in her place. Then she repeated exactly what you had written for her, which means there's gotta be a hidden door in this room." Reed said, "All right then, if you're that sure, go find it." After searching for a while, Paxton spotted a small secret hatch under the table. She said, "That's where the prophet came from, and that's where she must have hidden the real body." Now she wanted to confirm it. Reed let her go down on purpose. As soon as Paxton went into the lower basement, her suspicion was spot on. The woman Reed called a miracle prophet, her dead body was lying down there, which meant Reed wasn't some holy man. He was just a clever fraud. Right then, the basement door slammed shut from above. Reed had locked her in, because he wasn't done yet, and now Paxton knew the truth about him. So either he was going to keep her locked down here forever, or he was going to kill her too. Scared, Paxton slowly moved forward with her flashlight. She came across one door after another. In every room, there was weird ritual stuff lying around. Strange symbols were painted on the walls. Books from different religions were scattered everywhere. Finally, she saw a door with a lock on it that belonged to her own bike, and she still had the key. Paxton unlocked it and stepped inside, and what she saw made her skin crawl. In a giant cage, countless women were trapped. Maybe these were the same women who once, just like Paxton and Barnes, refused to believe in Reed's miracle, the ones who had challenged his ideas. And maybe Paxton was about to meet the same fate. Right then, Reed appeared from the front. There wasn't a hint of fear on his face, like he already knew Paxton would end up here. And now she understood. This is what he wanted her to see all along. Reed was the one who hid the bike, put the key in the wrong coat, and locked this final basement door with that same lock. That's when Paxton asked him straight, "Why are you doing all this?" Reed replied, "Because you came this far by making your own choices." Paxton thought she was trapped because of her decisions, but the truth was something else. This was all part of Reed's plan from the beginning. Every decision they thought they made was actually already decided by Reed. Their thoughts, their fears, even that key ending up in Paxton's pocket. Reed had planned every single part of it. Now Paxton finally got it. He had been controlling them from the start. What Reed really wanted to prove was that the only true religion in the world is control. And now Paxton fully understood that. Religion? It's just a system to control people, she said, her voice full of anger. But this is wrong. No one has the right to take someone's life. She was talking about the prophet woman who died. Reed said, I didn't force her to die. She died on her own because of her belief. She truly believed that God would bring her back. She chose death because of her blind faith. Then Reed openly admitted he locked up all those women because they showed up at his door preaching their own religions. They came to spread what he saw as hypocrisy. And now his list had two new names, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton. Sadly, they were about to end up just like the others. Reed said, you both gave up every decision in your life to someone else. Someone else told you what to wear, where to go, who to worship, how to worship, and where to do it. Whether it's a temple, a mosque, or a church, someone else decided that for you. Right then, Paxton saw her chance and drove that sharp tool right into Reed's neck, then bolted out of the basement. But as soon as she got upstairs, she ended up right back in the same room where she had argued with Reed earlier. This house really was a freaking maze. Paxton quickly dragged the table and jammed it against the door, trying to find any way out of this nightmare. But nothing worked. Meanwhile, Reed was badly wounded, but his will to kill was still alive. Within seconds, he attacked Paxton and stabbed her in the stomach. She collapsed next to Sister Barnes, groaning in pain. Reed was falling apart too. The blood loss was draining him fast. Facing death, he broke down. Please, us pray to God for us. This was the same Reed who'd just been mocking God and religion a while ago. But now that death was staring him in the face, he was the one calling out to God. People only stay atheists until they feel real pain. But when that pain hits, suddenly even they remember God. So, God's existence doesn't depend on which religion you believe in. What truly matters is that your faith never wavers. Paxton closed her eyes and started to pray. Reed dragged himself toward her, maybe to strike one last time. But just then, Sister Barnes suddenly got back up and finished the job. Reed was finally gone for good. But sadly, Sister Barnes didn't survive either. Now Paxton was left all alone. She looked closely at the model of Reed's house sitting on the table and spotted something, a window. Then somehow she broke through that window and finally escaped that hell of a house.